When the Google recruiter extended the verbal offer to me, she said, "What stood out in your interviews was your emotional intelligence." And I thought to myself, I'm glad something stood out because I did not prepare for the interviews at all. In this video, I want to share my experience interviewing at Google and what I learned, specifically 3 lessons that I hope will help you in future interviews. Before we dive in, however, welcome. If you're new, my name is Colleen Canney. I'm a career strategist and a leadership coach. I work one-on-one with individuals to help them transform the way they live, lead, and work. So as I mentioned, I did not prepare for the Google interviews. What happened is the recruiter asked me on a Friday if I was available to interview the following Monday. I said yes, and so I didn't prepare because I had plans on Saturday, and then on Sunday, I flew from Seattle to San Jose because I was interviewing at the main Google headquarters in Mountain View on Monday. So I show up on Monday at Google, and I think I was excited. I didn't know what to expect. My first interview was with a patent attorney, and he asked me, "What is your favorite Google product?" And I sat there and I thought, this interview is over before it even started. And the reason is because I could not think of a single Google product that I could say, oh, this is my favorite one. Up until that point, I had been a loyal lover of Microsoft products. I worked at Microsoft. I grew up using Microsoft products, and I had not yet jumped on the colorful Google bandwagon. So I'm sitting there and I'm praying, and then finally it hit me. Google Analytics. That's what I said. And this patent attorney looked at me and he said, "Oh, so tell me, why is Google Analytics your favorite product?" And I said, "I use Google Analytics for my coaching website. It really helps me understand the traffic to my website." And then I went into detail explaining all the different ways I understood, like the sources of traffic, the demographics, the conversion rates. When I stopped, the patent attorney said, "What an interesting answer. You are the first candidate to say Google Analytics is your favorite product." And I thought, whew, I am so grateful I received this epiphany because Google Analytics was the only product that I had used at that point. So that was my first question where I thought, oh, it would have really helped if I had prepared. However, I gave a unique answer. Then another interviewer asked, tell me about a time when you had to influence a diverse group of people. And I sat there and my mind went blank. And so what came up eventually is my experience interviewing at an organization called Real Change in Seattle. I was a facilitator for a sales training to help individuals who are experiencing homelessness sell the Real Change newspaper. And I talked about how everyone coming into the training was, experiencing adversity in some way, whether it was a veteran dealing with PTSD or someone who is dealing with addiction. Another person could have been, dealing with mental health challenges. And I talked about the importance of just meeting people where they're at and ensuring that, I was conveying information to a group of population that were really struggling in life. And by helping share these sales tips, they then could go out and sell the Real Change newspaper and make money instead of panhandling on the street. So I gave that answer and I thought, well, it's not work related, but does highlight my volunteer experience. And so overall, the interview experience was fairly positive. And what I learned, 3 things that really stood out from my time interviewing at Google. Number 1, I let go of expectations. At the time, I was working at Microsoft, as I shared earlier. I was really happy. I had a great manager. I love my colleagues. And I thought, well, if offer from Google is meant to be, then it will work out. I didn't place a lot of pressure on myself. And I think as a result, I was able to be present in the interview experience. I was able to be fairly calm, especially when I'm receiving questions that I wasn't prepared for. And so for you, what I'd recommend is thinking about how you can go into these interviews without being attached to the outcome. Because when I work with coaching clients, I see how much pressure they're putting on themselves. They're in the interviews and they're thinking, does the interviewer like me? Who cares, right? Oh, am I saying the right thing? Am I using the STAR method? Did I already say the T? What is the T again? Oh no, I think I'm screwing up. Am I going off the rails? And so there's all this noise going through your head. And meanwhile, you're trying to come across as being clear and confident and concise. And that's really hard when you have all this other, kind of feedback going on in your head. So I know if you're someone who has been laid off or you're in an unhealthy work environment and you really need a new job, it may be easier said than done. Like, let go of expectations. Are you kidding me, Colleen? I need a job. I need to pay my bills. But honestly, I do think you will perform so much better if you can just be yourself during the interviews and try as much as possible to enjoy the experience. And that leads me to my second tip, which is really allowing your personality to shine. I think often when we approach interviews, I've been guilty of this, and I've seen other coaching clients as well encounter this issue where you feel like you have to be super buttoned up and really stiff and speak in bullet points and, okay, am I attached to this STAR interview method? And it's totally fair. I think there's something we said about being professional in the interviews and really coming across as polished and prepared. However, the more that you can allow your authentic self, so to speak, to really come through in the interviews, number one, it ensures that there is a good culture match between you and the company. Because what if you show up and you're like super buttoned up and, R2D2, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you join this company and it's like, that's not really who you are. And you're expected to be super stiff and serious all day long. That is absolutely exhausting. And in fact, I had a coaching client who said, Colleen, for 3 years, I worked at this consulting firm and I never felt I could be myself for 3 years. And he ended up being like emotionally burnt out. So you want to ensure in the interview process that you allow the interviewers to get a really good sense of who you are. Because if you're not the right culture match, then you don't necessarily want an offer. And then second, it really helps if you are yourself because the interviewers then connect with you. They get a sense of like, I know this person. I feel like I can trust them. Because you think about when you're extending an offer to a candidate, like there is a fair amount of trust. You have to trust that this person is going to do well in the role. You have to trust that they're going to excel in the culture of the company. You have to trust that they will get along with the other employees. And so the more you can allow different aspects of your personality to come through, it's really helpful for the interviewers because they'll feel like, gosh, I know this person not only just as a candidate, but also as a human being. And then finally, the third lesson that I learned from my experience interviewing at Google is providing more out-of-the-box answers can really help you stand out as a candidate. So I incorporated my experience volunteering, as I mentioned, at Real Change. And I talked about like Google Analytics as my favorite Google product, right? These were answers that may have been a little bit unconventional, and they allowed me, I think, to be more of a memorable candidate potentially, right? I don't know the answers that the other candidates gave. What I would say is try to avoid more vanilla or textbook answers that any other candidate could provide, because it's really hard for you to make an impression on the interview team when your answers sound like all the other candidates out there. So in conclusion, I recommend that you try as much as possible to let go of expectations. Do everything you can to prepare for the interviews, but then know that there's a lot that's out of your control when a final decision is made. Second, I recommend that you allow your personality to shine. It helps to ensure that you're a good culture match. It also helps for interviewers to feel that they trust you. And then finally, a third, avoid vanilla answers. Figure out how you can incorporate answers that are more holistic. Potentially, you can talk about your different passions and hobbies if they are related to the role or the company. You can talk about your volunteer experience. Maybe there was like a significant adversity that you faced and you overcame in your life, and it's appropriate to share during the interviews. I want to thank everyone for taking time to watch this video. I love to hear from you. What has helped you stand out during the interviews? If you're interested in working with me one-on-one, I love helping candidates prepare for interviews so they can really shine bright and ideally receive an offer. So thanks everyone. If my content resonates with you, give this video a like and subscribe. Until next time.